This video is talking about Brittney Griner. I haven't heard a lot about her from other people, and I believe the people who are talking about her are fans, are people who are allies of LGBTQ community, and people who are empathetic to her situation, being a black woman, and she's from the States of America, and she goes to another place unaware that they have different sets of rules that could land her in a prison in Russia. And I mean, even if you knew you were to get into some kind of scrape or in trouble, in other words, you wouldn't think that you would get a sentence of jail time in a prison for having cartridges or marijuana pens, or because you're, I believe, unaware. She was unaware that it was going to be to that magnitude. I don't feel like she really knew the consequence of her actions, of what was going to happen, that it was going to be that severe that she could end up in a Russian prison for 9 years or more. So U.S. basketball star Brittney Griner loses appeal in Russian court over jail term. So this is by an Xavier Xavier. So I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. So I'm sorry if I didn't. But I thought this article, it's not a lengthy article. It's short and simple, but I felt this would be a good article to refer to Brittney Griner in regard to her having the experience that she's having. So a Russian court has rejected an appeal by Brittney Griner, who is the women's NBA star who has been detained in Russia on drug charges since February over her jail term. So Brittney, who plays center for the three-time WNBA champion Phoenix Mercury, was detained in Moscow airport in February on allegations that cartridges containing hashish oil had been found in her luggage. So she had been entering the country to play for the Russian women's basketball team. So it was UMMC, and I may not be saying this right, so I guess there's another name that's attached to it. So Ekaterinburg in a Russian Premier League during the WNBA offseason. So her lawyer said that Griner only uses cannabis medically and unintentionally packed the cannabis canisters in her suitcase because the professional athlete was in a hurry. So at the end of her trial in August, a court in the town of Kimki found her guilty. So she was sentenced to 9 years of imprisonment in a Russian prison. So, and she was also fined 1 billion. I think this is how they pronounce their money. And I'm trying to say it. Rubles. So, which I don't know if that's what they call it, 1 million rubles, which it's equivalent here in the States to $16,590. So her appeal against the decision was rejected at a hearing Tuesday at a court outside Moscow, where Griner spoke via video link from the detention center. So she was in a video link. So the state prosecutor called the sentence fair, So the double Olympic winner will be sent to a penal colony to serve the rest of her jail term. So that is what has happened. So the U.S. government condemned the sham judicial proceeding in the Russian court. So National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan revealed that in the recent weeks, the Biden administration has continued to engage with Russia through every available channel to make every effort to bring Brittney Griner home, as well as to support and advocate for other Americans that are detained in Russia for similar or other issues that are like this, including fellow wrongful detainee Paul Whelan. So the administration remains in regular touch with representatives of the families, and we continue to admire their courage in the face of these unimaginable circumstances, he said in a statement. So responding to the reporter's question about what will be his next move now that Brittney Griner has lost her appeal in the Russian court, President Joe Biden said, "We are in constant contact with Russian authorities to get Griner and others out. And so far, we've not been meeting with much positive response." But they say they're not stopping. So that is pretty much how things went. And so in regard to Griner, I hope she does get out. I hope she gets more support, because it's sad that this is happening to her. And notice, you don't see a lot of support from the communities of people that you would think on her behalf. And I will be honest, I don't bite my tongue. I have a lot of reason to say that a lot of the reason why she's not getting a lot of support is because she's a female, she's black, and she's gay or a lesbian. And so I believe that is the reason why she's not gotten a lot of more support what she could have. Had she had have been maybe someone of another background or another group, she might have gotten a little more support, because of the fact, and I believe the biggie here is that she's female and that she's lesbian and she's black. Those are the three biggies. So I feel like she should get out. I feel like she should not be penalized for this situation. And I do believe what she's saying, that she was in a rush. And I also believe that she was just not really thinking that they were going to penalize her to this full extent for something like that, because here in the States, there's a lot of legalization of cannabis. And you can have medical prescription to use it, and it is widely used, and it's not as it once was thought of, where people are jailed for it or they're criticized because of the use of it for leisure. There's more wide acknowledgement that that it is now legalized, where if you're over a certain age and you have ID and you're able to, although you have kids doing all kinds of different things, it's not just marijuana. Some people have often say it's a gateway to other things, but however, it depends on the individuals and for what the use is intended. And in her case, for Brittney Griner, her use was medically intended for use. So I feel with that regard, or in that respect, that she should be released, and being it so that she's not originally from Russia and she's following the set of rules from her country, that is what I feel like this should go on. It's as if, I know she should have been probably more active about reading what the rules are in terms of having certain items in your possession if you're in the country of Russia or countries in Russia, different places of Russia. But some people, if, like she said, she's in a rush, she didn't have time to realize what the consequence could be if the items were found in that particular region. So for that matter, I would say that she should be released on that basis because of the fact that she was just totally unaware. Had she have been aware, would she have been put through this, or would they have just let her through and then she could go on with life? So now this may not only punish her, not because she just didn't know, but now it can ruin her career to some extent, or it'll be hard for her to, after 9 years. I mean, come on now. I mean, it's just so unfair that this has happened to her. And I feel like she's also not only being punished for having the cannabis canister, but I feel like she's being punished because she's lesbian. That is one of the main things. And in that country of Russia, they have a lot of not so great in terms of the ones that are in belief of this, that they don't have high regard to people in the LGBTQ community. And so I have seen, there have been documentaries of Russian people who live in their country who, if they happen to be a part of the LGBTQ community, they can get killed, they get put out of a city, ostracized, beaten, jailed. There's a lot of discrimination, even on high levels, to where it's acceptable to even murder people that are from the LGBTQ community. They put like a lot of negative labels attached to the people in those situations in the other countries, like such as, you know, in Russia, that I've seen some of the documentaries that have been very, very sad situations where people have had to constantly be protesting. They have to constantly be making themselves vocal so that they can let people know that they're human too, but oftentimes not treated that way. So I feel like that might be one of the main reasons, and the fact that she's famous. She's from the American states, and right now what is happening? Russia had went through a situation with Ukraine. There's a war between the two of those countries, and what has happened more recent when with trade has been cut off. The gas is expensive, food is expensive, water might be affected in some places. There's some places who don't have fresh drinking water. There's also some other issues that have come about. The issue of nuclear war that could be a future threat to all American countries and all countries altogether, not even just America. And it's really been crazy lately. And so by her being famous, some people feel like that Russia might be using her as a pawn. They also feel as though there could be some possible blowback where you have Russia using her as not only a pawn, but they're also wanting to use her as a way to try to release people of their country to come back to their country. That might be in a prison or something that has to do with the U.S. or government. So it's a real big mess. It gets really sticky. The whole thing gets really nasty. And so she's caught up in that whole mess. And so with all that going on, the politic part of it, the bureaucracy. So with all that going on, that's the unfortunate part, and that's what keeps her there. And so her wife, however, has felt as though that she's going through a lot. They're all the family's going through a lot. That Brittney, her spirits are not as high. She's tried to make amends. She's tried to apologize. She's tried to, be very kind and very patient But to lose this appeal and then be told that you have to be in a place where you have no recollection of anybody there, you're just stuck and there for 9 years. Come on now. It just seems so unfair. And so I'm hoping that there's a way that Biden is able to get her out, or someone is able to get her out of that Russian prison. She doesn't belong there. And I'm sure there might be others that are in similar circumstance, such as like what he said, that don't belong there for like sometimes the most minor infraction. And so this is scary. It's scary to see what she might become. Sure, she probably has trouble eating, sleeping, just thinking, wondering, probably replaying the whole scene in her head. What if I had just left those home? What if I had looked in my bag? What if this, what if that? And so now here you are. And so she's fighting basically to get her life back. And so that's the hard part. And I'm sure the wife has expressed that. The family's expressed that. And so we'll see. This is a developing story, I would say. There might be more that'll come out of it, hopefully. Hopefully that she's able to be released at some point and not be held as long as 9 years, or something bad happens to her while she's in there. So I just feel like if she was maybe in a different category of individual, that you would see more advocacy. That's the unfortunate part. Women of color who happen to be lesbian I don't feel like there's a lot of support. There's doubt, there's insecurities, there's a lot of hatred, there's not a lot of support unless you're surrounded by people of your own community or people you can trust. There's still the threat of someone trying to hurt you or harm you because of being lesbian. A lot of times women of color might not want to say that they've had relationships, or they themselves, if they are lesbian, they may not want to express that because you still have a lot of hatred out there. You have a lot of people that will look at you and like, oh, you're a freak, and something is wrong with you. How come you don't like men, or you're a man hater? There's a lot of things that'll happen. People will try to challenge you. Oh, I can fix you. I can fix your issue, and then you'll be normal. And so a lot of hatred, a lot of horrible situation. That's a whole nother protected group. And then you're a woman, you're black, and it's hard. It's really hard. And so you don't get a lot of support. And like I say, Queen Latifah, she's doing good now. She's in this show called The Equalizer. And before, I felt like she didn't get a lot of support when she had her talk show. She had like a talk show, just like Ellen DeGeneres. But now Ellen DeGeneres, I guess because of that whole episode with the way she was treating staff and some people that had run-ins with her, that kind of ended or faded her career off. But I don't think that faded her money out. I'll tell you that. Her career may not be what it was or once was, but her money is not gone. I don't think. I think at the end of the day, she's still paid. Queen Latifah, on the other hand, she's black, and life is different for a woman of color. That if you are out as an out lesbian, it is a lot different. The lenses are different that you would see out of, and what you would experience. And so a lot of people don't realize that. And just like you see a lot of people coming out, oh, I'm gay, oh, I'm a lesbian, oh, I'm this, I'm that. It's not easy for everybody. Look how long it took the Brat to come out to say what she was, which most people knew she was lesbian. But there are some that were just totally clueless, or oh, maybe she's this girl that likes to dress like a tomboy. Right. Come on now. You never seen her with any boyfriend. You never seen her talking about getting married. You never seen her dating guys. And even if you do see women doing that, that doesn't mean that they're strictly for guys. So you got to think about the world is a lot bigger than what people know it to be. So it's just, you get a lot of hatred. You get a lot of hatred. And I believe this is what she's kind of going through. And so you notice you don't see a whole lot of support. Maybe it's a small fraction of people that are in support of Brittney Griner, but it should be a lot more, because if they could do this to her, even if she's who she is, there's other people that may not be in the same situation or from the same background as her. They could be, you know, held for hostage or ransom or bureaucracy, because this can happen because simply you're American. They could discriminate. Well, we don't like Americans, you know. And I think that's the other reason why she's there too. So not only being famous, black, and a lesbian, but she's American and she's famous and she has some kind of notoriety. She's valid, you know. She's somebody that, you know, she fits all those criterions straight across the board. So she would be one of the ones that would hold in a Russian prison, you know, if they had that opportunity. With what's going on right now, we don't know where this is gonna go, but it doesn't look good if they hold her for that whole amount of time that they claim they want to hold her. Hopefully she will get out and they will see a happy ending to the story. I would want to see another tragedy, but I will say this for the people of my background, people of my I'm not the same age. I'm a little older than a lot older than Brittney. People, you know, I feel like that there's so many tragedies, and then being a person of color, if you're famous, it just seems like, you know, the tragedy is, it just seems that tragedy is there. You know, it's like a black cloud is hovering. You know, like either we're gonna do all these things and try to make it through this, or we got this black cloud, and any moment it could rain on our parade. So I think it's definitely rained on her parade. I mean, she's trying to keep an upbeat attitude. I'm sure her wife probably contacts her family. They're trying to, you know, give her ways to try to stay up. But I mean, you're locked away from society, and then you're in a society that's not even the place where you live or where you know, reside normally. I mean, that's got to be hard. But we'll see how this turns out.